Our entire staff is on the line helping today with chat box and monitoring and ensuring we have a productive meeting and to answer any of your questions throughout. So certainly feel free to message any of us if you have any questions or technical difficulties, and we'll try to help you one-on-one. Unless there are Zoom questions, I will pass it over to our president, Janina France.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm gonna kind of jump on the bandwagon here and thank our 2020 annual meeting sponsors. This is a great example of how even in a virtual world, we have sponsors who appreciate the work that we do, much so that they can contribute to our virtual meeting here today. As everyone knows, due to the pandemic, we had decided to hold our annual business meeting virtually. So there may be some challenges, but we've had some practice in our area meetings and our quarterly board meetings since March. So I'm hopeful that this will be a fairly efficient and streamlined meeting. So once again, I want to welcome everybody. We have a very healthy collection of individuals, both signing in themselves as well as sitting in with their other board members. So I will reiterate some of the information that Kendall shared with you, because I know that we still have some people that are coming on board right now and logging in. And I'll do this one more time before our first vote, but just to clarify how voting will take place during today's meeting. In your participants box, so at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a participants box. And if you click on that, at the bottom of that box, there are buttons. One is yes, one is no. If you're an individual calling in from your office or home, when a vote is called, yays will be the green button yes, nays will be the red button for no. And if you are in a room with multiple directors, appointed directors, please cast their votes in the chat box. For example, it might be 4 yes, 1 no. And that way we can record that. And again, as Kendall had already stated, the voting membership consists of directors and appointed directors. Those are the individuals that will be allowed to vote, and those votes will be the ones that will be counted. And so, and once again, can you clear out the yes, no check boxes for me, Kendall? Okay, we're gonna practice. All those who are ready for the holiday season, click yes. Everybody who's not ready, click no.
For this one, everybody can vote.
Yeah, everybody, let's just let everybody can vote. So everybody has practice and they know. All right, Kelly, we've got 4 yes for the holiday season. That's exactly the kind of thing we want to see. All right, folks, that looks pretty good. We'll call it there. I just wanted to let everybody have one last opportunity to practice before we jump right into it. And I think the waiting room is slowing down. So I am going to go ahead and start by introducing Richard Chafin. He is our registered parliamentarian as well as president of the Education Foundation board. And he is going to go over our parliamentary procedures for today's virtual meeting. As everyone knows, this is a little bit different. And so he is going to address kind of our rules of engagement for the meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Richard.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And the rules of procedure that have been adopted by your board of directors is on the screen now. And just a quick note on those. 2 people, a person may speak only twice to a motion, and we're limiting the time to 2 minutes each time that they speak, and unused time may not be reallocated or yielded or carried forward. The time frames don't prohibit any sharing on chat, but the chat comments are not considered formal debate on a motion. And you may enter that as you wish, but formal debate is limited to an elected or an appointed director, not an associate director. The president may invite non-voting members to speak to a motion for clarifying comments as needed. Anyway, we just hope that these things will keep us on a good track and keep things moving forward, and yet an opportunity for people to have their say. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Richard. So are there any questions on our procedures that we've developed for this meeting or put forward to you? All right, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any comments, so we'll move right on ahead. All right, so next up on our agenda today is the approval of the 2019 annual business meeting minutes. Those are in, you can link it from your agenda. These are the minutes from our business meeting that took place at the Norfolk Sheraton Waterside Hotel last year on December 10th. So we need to approve those minutes.
This is Don Wells. I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, I heard Don Wells is our first.
Jim Gelson, second.
Jim Gelson, second. And thank you, gentlemen, both. This was a good reminder for me that when you make a motion, please state your name so that we can get that recorded for the minutes today. So we have a first and a second for approving the annual business meeting minutes. Are there any, is there any discussion? All right, I don't see any hands. I don't hear any comments, so we'll go ahead and move to a vote. And again, when we move to the vote, if yes for yay and no for nay. So ready? All those in favor of approving the 2019 annual business meeting minutes from December 10th, 2019, signify by clicking yes. Those opposed, no. And then again, if you were in a room with multiple individuals, please include that number in a chat box.
Point of, I don't know, parliamentary thing. Can you vote on minutes if you didn't attend last year's meeting? Because you're not supposed to do that, right?
You're not.
Right, you're not supposed to. If you did not attend the meeting in December, you would not be casting a vote. And unfortunately, there is not a way to abstain here in the yes, no option. I suppose you could write abstain in the chat box if you needed.
What about if we attended but we weren't hadn't been sworn in yet?
Then you would not vote.
Do you want to raise hands for abstain?
Sure, that's fine. All right, so I don't see any nays, so the motion has passed, and we have approved the 2019 business meeting minutes. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the 2019-2020 Association Board motions. So this is if you link to this document, it is a list of all the motions made between December 2019 through September 2020. And so this is a vote to approve those motions. So I'll need a first and a second for that.
This is John Peterson, Northern Virginia. I move that we ratify all the motions made.
Jim Gelson seconds that.
All right, so we have John Peterson as our first, Jim Gelson is our second. The motion is to, as John stated, ratify the motions, the board motions through December 2019, September 2020. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. All right, again, all those in favor of ratifying the motions from December 2019 through September 2020 board motions, signify by saying aye by clicking yes, opposed no. And then if you are together in a room, please indicate that in the chat box.
So again, just to clarify, my term didn't start till January 1st. Are we still okay to vote on these?
Yes, on these, Frida, you may vote. Okay. Looks like we have, we'll just wait a few more minutes as we see votes coming in. One, do you want to? Okay. All right. Right now we're seeing no opposition, so the motion carries. We've approved the board motions for 2019-2020. All right. Thank you, everybody. That seemed to work really well. So thanks for hanging in there. All right, next we have the review and receipt of the treasurer's report, and Don Wells, our treasurer, is on the line, and he will be giving us the treasurer's report. And Kendall will be sharing with you on the screen the spreadsheet that has the budget numbers in them. Don?
Column 1 is for the fiscal year that closed June 30th. And I would commend the staff for the good work they did in conservative operation of our association. We had an income in that fiscal year of $447,857 and expenses of $415,750. I would move that this be received and filed for audit.
All right, Don has made the motion.
Second by Jim Gelson.
I have a second from Jim Gelson. Again, the motion on the floor is to receive and file for audit the treasurer's report as presented. So open up for discussion. All right, hearing no discussion, we're going to move to a vote. All right.
You're going to need to clear out the other votes.
Yep, we got it. We're working on that. Got it. Are we set? All right. All those in favor of receiving and file for future audit the treasurer's report as presented by Mr. Wells, signify by checking yes. All those opposed, no. And then please enter other votes in the chat box.
Where's the vote? The yes and no.
Oh, okay. So there's some folks that may have been late to join. And so let me clarify again for you. If you go down to the bottom of your Zoom screen, there is a little icon. It says participant.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If you click on participant at the bottom of that screen, there is a yes and a no box. And if you just click
Thank
yes,
you.
got it. Great. Thank you. All right. Seeing no opposition. Oh, do we have another question?
I was moving on.
Oh, okay, Don. All right. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried to receive it and file for audit the treasurer's report. Go ahead, move on, Don.
All right, column 3 is the expenditures since receipts and expenditures since July 1 of this year, and now it goes through December 1st. We have had income of $398,027. All 47 districts have paid their support service fees. We thank all 47 of you for that. We have expenditures of $302,101.98. I would comment at the bottom of the report is some information. The cash balance 12/1 was $307,613. That was a checking account. The investment balance was $189,934, and the Mountain Valley pipeline funding is $3,548,000. I would note on our investment balance that we did make a change based upon more financial services, that we changed the investment broker that we were working with, and that earnings has substantially increased. On the Mountain Valley Pipeline balance, we have expended to 4 districts, those being Mountain Castles, Skyline, Pennsylvania, and Blue Ridge. We have expended 8% of the funding for technical assistance. All 4 districts have signed agreements with the association. This report is really an information piece. I don't know that it needs any action. The last column is our proposed budget for FY22, and it tracks very closely throughout with the expenditures and income for the past 2 years. We have had a decrease in expenditures because of the restrictions in travel due to the COVID virus, but hopefully by next year, if the vaccines become available, and we'll be back to a more normal operation. This has been approved by the board of directors. The budget has been approved by the board of directors in September and reviewed again this morning. So I would move that the FY22 budget be adopted.
Richard
Stephen
Chambers.
Meeks will second.
All right, so Don Wells, provide the motion. We're gonna go with Stephen. Stephen, second, Meeks for the second on the motion. So the motion on the floor is to approve the FY 2022 budget as presented. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of approving the FY 2022 budget signify by checking yes. All those opposed, no. And or record your votes in the chat box. All right, being no opposition.
Budget is still on the, oh, there we go, sorry. Now we're back to business here.
All right, seeing no opposition, the motion has carried and we have approved the FY 2022 budget. Okay, thank you all. We're moving on to area reports.
This is Jim Christian Loudon. I have a question.
Sure.
When we have our district meetings by conference call, we are required to, at the beginning of the meeting, to make a motion to invoke the emergency orders from the governor. Are we required to do that with this meeting?
No, we're not required to do that as a nonprofit.
Not a public body.
We are not, the association itself is not considered a public body, which is different than the districts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions before we move on to area reports? Okay, well, we're gonna move into area reports, and in order to keep this brief, I'm hoping that the area chairs could provide us just brief information about any newly elected area chairs or vice chairs that took place during the November area meetings. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend all the area meetings. Lots of good discussion. I'm excited to see that everybody's managing to keep things going across the district, 47 districts, but we're gonna go ahead and turn it over to the areas to speak up. I'm gonna go 1 through 6 here, and if the area chair could just speak up. We don't need a full summary of area meeting, but just kind of the highlight information. So area 1.
Have you got me online?
Yep, Rick, we have you online.
All right, I apologize. I just got tuned in. I'm real disappointed you're not going to let me read every word I have printed in the 4 pages, but Area 1 elected co-chairs, Kevin Cron and Rick Shiflett for another term. Everything else is in print. I do have a couple of comments from area, districts as far as survey results and complaints from clients. When would be a good time to air that?
Well, let's do it right now. That sounds good, Rick.
Okay, it'll be short and sweet. Of course, they complain about a lot of things we have no control over, but cover crop planting deadlines, they cannot get it with cash crops harvested in time because of the deadlines. Some of the programs have parts that are so complicated, they just dish the whole program because they don't want to fool with the details. And lastly, they wish payment could be received in stages, especially since the cost of some of these, especially waste material things, are so expensive compared to what they used to be 20 years ago. That's it.
Thank you, Rick. We are noting that.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. I think there was some conversation about the BMP TAC, and I think there are some folks on here, that can carry some of those concerns forward for your area as well. So we'll make sure that those concerns get relayed. So don't worry. We're going to see that through for you. You're welcome.
That's great. They're welcome to contact me or the Headwaters District, and we'll get them answers. I listened earlier to one of the fellows talk about they seeded their cover crops before they harvested. We've done airplane drops, but you know what? If you've got water standing in the field, it just doesn't work. So that's kind of the case we've been in the last 2 years.
Thank you, Rick. It's definitely been weird weather. And that's all the other weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to area 2. Jim Gelson.
Yes. Hello, everybody. We had our election for area chair and vice chair this year, and we elected John Flannery from Loudoun County, where he also serves as treasurer there. And we elected a vice chair, Will Lintner, from Prince William County, where he also serves as vice chair there. I've got all the confidence that Area 2 will be in good hands going forward. We have a tentative spring meeting date set of March 22nd. This will be up to John whether he wants to keep that date or adjust it or whatever as he navigates through the COVID requirements or restrictions, I should say. And then in our discussion with the Area 2, Area 2 decided we'd like to put the Healthy Soils Initiative back on the legislative agenda. So that'll be coming up a little later on. And then also this year, coming out of Area 2, we did, came up with this discrimination policy, which we'll be reviewing later on. Those are the highlights for Area 2. Does anybody have any questions?
All right. Any questions for Area 2? And so, yeah, thanks, Jim, for clarifying. We will be talking about those 2 issues later on in the agenda. Do we have any questions, Ben?
I didn't know whether you wanted Darrell to jump in and explain some of that now.
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Area 3. Do we have Frank Johnson?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Frank. You might speak up just a little bit for us.
Okay. How about now? Is this a little better?
That's great.
Okay. Yes. Good evening, everyone. I will be very brief. Our report for Area 3 is in print, and you can access that and find that. What I will highlight is that we've gotten some feedback, or I received some feedback from some of the districts about the boards, the board of directors, perhaps being more intentional about engaging the community. And when you take that feedback, plus the recent efforts of our employee association with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and their efforts, I think it's a great time to look at maybe putting together a plan or putting some goals in the strategic plan about implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's just not limited to, of course, different people, but also the practices that we do according to our mission and many other aspects. Other than that, I would also like to point out uh, Area 3 Vice Chair Robert Pickett is also online. So I'll heed some time to Robert Pickett if you want to say anything. You might have to unmute yourself, Robert.
No, Frank, I think we're good. And like you say, we've got written minutes of our last meeting available if someone would like them. So.
Okay, thank you very much. And otherwise, that's all that I have.
Thank you, Frank. And so I really appreciate your comments. Our strategic planning takes place next year. So this will be a good opportunity to start taking that feedback that you've received and start to work on incorporating diversity and inclusion in our next strategic plan. So I'm sure that there'll be an opportunity to participate. We did get kind of off track because of the pandemic this year with strategic planning, which was the same for most all districts. So we will be back at it, and we will definitely be reaching back to you for some of that feedback. Thank you. Are there any questions for Area 3? All right, we're going to move on to Area 4. Gary Boring, are you online?
I'm here. I'll try to do a real brief report. We did not have elections this year. Our terms are not up until next year for area chair and vice chair. The very few suggestions for actions at the state meeting. Everybody's trying to deal with coronavirus and keeping their offices open and going, and everybody seems to have a little different approach, but it seems to be working for all the individuals. We're just glad to be here and be participating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. All right, so we'll move into Area 5. Unfortunately, as many of you know, Dr. Wilkie Chafin passed away just recently. And so in his stead, Daphne Jamison is going to be giving us the Area 5 report.
This will be very brief. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. At the meeting, Bruce Pierce and Daphne Jamison were elected as co-chairs of Area 5. And Ricky, you can help me with this, or Richard. Did we elect a vice chair?
Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't have any notes from Bruce because this was a surprise to me. So Kevin Dunn is our vice chair, and Bruce is from Halifax. I'm Daphne, and I'm from Blue Ridge. Kevin is from where?
Peter Francisco.
Peter Francisco. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Daphne. All right, so we'll move right to the last one here, Area 6. Granville, I believe you are planning to give us a report for Area 6.
Yes, I'll make it brief. You had the report, the association has a report from all 6 districts here in Area 6. And I have to agree with Rich Shiplet a little while ago. When you fly on, plant, whatever, cover crop, and it gets in standing water, it does kill the cover crop. But other than that, everything is going as planned, and they're staying busy in Area 6. I'll just leave it at that.
Great, thank you very much. All right, and so I see we've had a couple of people join us while we were going through the area reports. If you have any questions as we go forward later on, we can address them when we get to our next section of the agenda where there may be voting. I'll go over how we vote prior to any approvals. So we're going to move right into committee updates now, and for all the committees, reports are included in the meeting materials. So we're going to ask the committee chairs to give us just a brief report. And the first one is Lisa Hyatt. She'll be giving us a marketing committee report.
Hi, everyone. Yep, just a quick update on what the marketing committee has been up to. We will be holding our next marketing committee meeting on January 5th at 1 p.m. via Zoom. If there's anyone who would like to join our committee or has any thoughts on marketing or outreach strategies to share, please let me know, and I'd be happy to send you the Zoom invite. The next big thing coming up that we will be discussing at our marketing committee meeting on January 5th is our upcoming marketing training that'll be taking place on January 13th at 10 a.m. This is part of the association's virtual training blitz that's been going on for the past couple months. So January 13th, the marketing committee will be hosting a meeting where we will be talking about and unveiling the marketing toolkit, which is what you are seeing right now on your screen. The toolkit, for those that haven't heard about this, is going to be an online resource that will be hosted on the association's website for district staff to utilize, and it's filled with all sorts of how-tos, videos, templates, links, ideas, examples of marketing materials, for how to build a website, how to take good pictures, how to create videos, and that sort of thing. So we're really excited to finally get this out there for everyone to start using. So we'll be talking about this at the training on the 13th and going through it piece by piece and launching it to the world. Additionally, there's some work going on right now for the association as part of that virtual training blitz to host a training specifically geared towards the creation of videos. That will be a separate training from the marketing committee training. I know that's in the works right now with a few key people, so stay tuned for that if you're looking for information on how to make videos or know any district staff that are wanting to learn more about video making. That is in the works and should be coming in the next couple months. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Are any questions for Lisa? All right, great. We're going to move on to our admin and ops committee. Susie Brown is the chair. She's going to give us a report.
Hi. Well, this year, the admin ops committee, our focus kind of changed due to COVID. We met regularly virtually. We were really well attended with our conference calls. We used those as an opportunity to share with each other the things that we were experiencing in our offices and talking about policies and procedures related to teleworking and just office administration in general. We had several guest speakers. We had someone from the Library of Virginia talk to us about record retention. We had speakers from DCR. We had Terry Higgins, who also came and talked about personnel topics. And then she did an actual training session that was just her in October for everyone to participate in. We will try and have our first meeting in late January, early February. I will get that notice out right after the first of the year. Anyone that's interested in joining the committee, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Again, kudos to all the staff and trying to work around the pandemic and all its challenges. And Susie, I really commend your group for helping with the districts with that. All right, the legislative committee report is up next. We have Ricky Rash in the room with us here, and he is going to start off our legislative committee discussion.
All right, can everybody hear me okay? If you can't, speak up or wave or something. Just want to say I appreciate all of the work that the legislative committee members have done this year. All of it was virtual. I have heard a few comments as legislative chairman that some of the information was not getting back to ground zero. In other words, the directors and the districts I know that the information has been sent out from Kendall in this office. Don Wells has generally helped with that, but if you're not getting them, please identify to myself or Kendall what we can do to do a better job to make sure that you get them. It's always discussed at the September board meeting. The September Association board generally makes a recommendation for this meeting today, and there can be additions or corrections to it as needed. But if you want to be on the legislative committee, just identify to Kendall that you want to be on it, and you will be included. So anyway, any questions on that? Like I said, we don't have to go into any great detail on how you get on. Just if you're not getting the information, please just suggest to us that how we can do a better job of getting it out. How can we identify it, flag it, red flag it, whatever the case may be. All right. Your legislative agenda that has been put forward by your board is fairly short. You'll see some changes, and I'll go through the changes as we go down the items. It was my desire when I knew about COVID back early on in the year that it would be a difficult session since we didn't know how long the pandemic would last. I felt it was better to keep a very clear and concise legislative agenda. I expressed that to the legislative committee in August. For the most part, everyone was in agreement. There was always discussion about adding items, but that's what the committee is there for. Item number 1 is maintain operating funds. The budget shortfall that we have in the state right now, if we come out of this with no net loss of funding, I think will be a tremendous windfall in our favor. Getting the funds from the Water Quality Improvement Fund shifted over to the Virginia Natural Resources Commitment Fund will identify those funds strictly for non-point source. At current, if they're in the WQIF, they can be, by discretion of the Secretary of Natural Resources, shifted into point source or non-point source at the cabinet level secretary's discretion. So we would like to see those shift over. VCAP has been a very successful program. It started out as a pilot program, as most of you know. It's been highly successful, and we're trying to expand the program, and the need for funding will far exceed the $2 million that you see on your screen. But in the current fiscal year, we're at 500,000. So we thought going to $1 million would be good, but we felt that even in a down budget year with as much participation as we've had, we could probably sell a $2 million budget request. Looking at the next item, dam rehabilitation, just a caveat on that is in the regular General Assembly session, no money was allocated for dam rehab. We had a $50 million request last year. We felt that if we got 15 million, so that was our re-request this past August. It was in the time frame of the special session of the General Assembly. We didn't know where it was going to go. We didn't know whether the General Assembly was going to adopt the budget or not. The General Assembly did adopt a budget, and the $15 million is in the budget, and it has been signed by the governor. We feel that we can retract this off of our legislative agenda and hold our legislative agenda to 4 items. And that's what I would recommend to the membership. And item number 5 that you see there that would move up 1, the Soil and Water Conservation Board representation. Just to clarify within the code how those Soil and Water Conservation Board directors are appointed, the members are appointed. We felt that the administration kind of painted outside the lines. The administration disagreed with our expressing our concerns, but we feel that in working with Farm Bureau and Agribusiness Council that we can clean up the code language and hopefully keep our nominations going forward within what the association recommends. So with that, Madam President, I move that we accept the legislative report as presented.
Can I have a first?
This is Robert Pickett. Second.
All right, so we have a first and a second for approving or adopting the legislative agenda as presented by Mr. Rash for the 2021 General Assembly. So again, this would be the 4 items that we've discussed, which, have removed the dam rehabilitation. So now we're going to open up the legislative agenda for discussion.
This is Jim Gelson, Area 2 Chair. I would like to make a motion to include the Healthy Soils program on the legislative agenda.
Seconded.
Is that Frida?
Yes.
All right, so Jim is making a motion to amend the legislative agenda to include the Healthy Soils Initiative program is what he said.
Yep.
And Frida seconded that. All right, so we're going to open that up for discussion.
Granville, Maitland, Appomattox River.
Go ahead, Granville. Just before you speak, Granville, I'm just going to remind everyone of the parliamentarian procedures for this discussion, and I will go over them really quickly again. And they are in the chat box way up there if you need to look at them. So I'm going to read them really quick or clearly. Again, those wishing to debate a motion may do so as much as twice on a given issue. So you may speak twice. Your debate or your discussion must be limited to no more than 2 minutes at each time, which means that one individual can have up to 4 minutes to talk if they speak twice. Any unused time may not be allocated to another person or carried forward. The timeframes noted do not preclude sharing comments via the chat. So you may include a comment in the chat, but the chat comments will not be considered formal debate on the motion. And anyone may enter chat comments, but the formal debate is limited to elected or appointed directors only. So this does not include associate directors. And the final point is that the president may invite, I think it said other individuals, other non-voting individuals to provide clarifying information as needed to support the discussion. That being said, Granville,
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. What I would like to do, I would like to keep the 4 proposals as presented. This other on the healthy soils, which is, I think is important down the road. I heard concerns this morning by Darrell Glover, DCR, say it's not ready for prime time yet. Ricky Rash basically said the same thing. And with that, and I'm gonna keep it short, why are we so bent on pushing this forward this year with all the concerns we have and the things are not put in place to understand what's needed to be done, who's to participate, all the different programs right there. And I would like to have, why is it so important to push this year? That's just my comments.
Okay, Granville, I'm gonna invite Darrell now. So to thank you for your comments. I see that DCR has made a comment in the chat box. As president, I would like to invite Daryl Glover from DCR to provide comments or information, clarifying information on the soil health issue. Daryl, would you provide us just some information?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if everyone has seen the proposed policy statement, but part of it points out the things that are already funded through the VAX program, such as cover crops, nutrient management, residue, no-till, et cetera. This has been going on for a long time. The issue that we have with legislation is one, no one yet has been able to scientifically quantify what activities on the land are best beneficial for soil health in any quantitative way. Qualitatively, we do know. Quantitatively, we do not. DCR is participating in a research project that Virginia Tech, Roy McGuire, is conducting. We've dedicated one staff person to working on this project. And what we hope to learn from it is how to develop a BMP bundle that would best promote soil health. Currently, we simply do not know what to do or how much to do or what's more beneficial than the other. So to go to legislation that will require action by DCR or DEQ or anyone else is premature, in our opinion.
Thank you, Daryl. And I would just like to add some information to what Daryl discussed, so folks aren't confused. In the September board meeting, the soil healthy programs had been listed on the legislative agenda. During that meeting, it was decided to remove it from the legislative agenda, but go ahead and put into a policy statement. So that was the recommendation at the time, remove it from the legislative agenda and work to create a policy statement. And so that's what Daryl is referring to when he talks about an amended policy. The reason he says amended is that earlier this morning, the policy that has been presented to the areas for discussion was reviewed, and with some constructive feedback from this morning's board members and the area chairs, there were some amendments made to that policy, and that's for discussion later. And so I just wanted to provide some information to clarify that statement. So with that being said, we're opening up for additional discussion. We've had Granville speak.
Buckthorpe, Southside. I just heard Daryl Glover say something about that he's doing some research or something about that. I'd like to know, I need some clarification before I can vote.
Excuse me, could you identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Will Littner. I'm a director with Prince William. Before I can vote, I need some clarification from DCR. Was DCR tasked to doing the research and coming up with something that is quantifiable as far as healthy soils? Will that include a definition of what a healthy soil is? And beyond that, what is the timeline for what DCR is doing?
Thank you, Will. I will now invite Daryl back to respond to Will's comment.
Mr. Littner, this is not a DCR project. It's a Virginia Tech project headed up by Rory McGuire. DCR has committed one of our staff persons to work on the project with Dr. McGuire. And it's going to be happening in Area 2. Part of it will be happening in Area 2. Part of it will be occurring on the Eastern Shore. Actual field demonstrations on soil health techniques as they try to determine what is best beneficial over the next couple of years. I mean, obviously, real scientific research cannot be done in a few weeks or a few months. And once we hope to learn, again, we hope to learn from these field demonstrations are what bundle of BMPs are most beneficial to soil health and thus beneficial to carbon sequestration and climate change.
This is Buck Thorpe, Southside. It sounds like they're trying to put the cart before the horse. There's a committee been formed, Kendall, correct, that is studying this also. So without knowing what is coming, how do you make a policy or a legislative agenda with not knowing what you're doing?
All right, Buck, thank you. Well, so if you don't mind, Daryl, Ricky Rash has some information on the Soil Health Coalition, and I was gonna let him go ahead and speak to that.
All right, thank you, Madam President. There are several reasons that I oppose this amendment and re-including this back onto our legislative agenda. First and foremost, Kendall was able to talk with Ken Plum, who is chairman of the Chesapeake Agriculture Committee, and he has advised against it because I'm not sure who from Thomas Jefferson approached him about sponsoring it. He just thinks that with the shortened session, the possibility of a 30-day session versus a 45-day session, restrictions on legislators of 8 on the House side and 12 bills on the Senate side, that it could be quite cumbersome and get confusing. DCR has addressed all of the policy issues that I wholeheartedly agree with, Daryl. There's probably one thing that you omitted, and that is at some point, somebody in these state agencies is going to have to be assigned the task of keeping up with this. So there's going to be some monetary value assigned to those state employees. Again, the Soil Health Coalition is working. It's being headed up by Chris Lawrence of NRCS. Kendall is our member on that committee, and she will be tasked with writing some of the policies that will come out of this. And so they are actually working on it at a statewide level with a broad range of participants. And I think we should accede to that. And the last thing I want to say is that in an all virtual session, citizen lobbyists oftentimes are the best advisors that legislators have. There are always the paid advisors, the paid lobbyists that have the influence in the ear of the legislators because it usually involves money. But the citizen lobbyists, such as ourselves going in, we won't have as much access to express what can and cannot go wrong with a bill like this. So I would recommend, and I intend to vote against this amendment for the simple reason that we just won't be able to manage the outcome of it as well as if we were able to go downtown. So with that, we'll turn it back over.
All right, thank you, Ricky. I see that there are, so we've got a couple things. And again, I really appreciate your patience as we have this very constructive conversation. And so I had 3 raised hands. And first, I wanted to address Frida's comment. Frida asked that we share, go ahead and share now the policy statement that we amended during this morning's quarterly board meeting with the area chairs, so that you may understand what the proposal is, or that what the proposal was previously, in that we pull it off the legislative agenda in September and create a policy statement. So what is on the screen and being shared now by Kendall is that policy statement. The purpose of the policy statement, and it will go in our policy book, is to reaffirm that the association will assist, and that was something that we modified this morning, assist with establishing a Virginia Healthy Soils initiative because we're not quite sure what it is right now. It's not really a program. It's more of a, something that's very in the very early stages of planning and development. And then we removed the last part of the policy statement because the association does not have the ability to require DCR or DEQ to meet any or do anything. So that's not within the ability of the association. And so in with discussion with DCR and Daryl and Clyde, we pulled this out because it was not appropriate for a policy statement. And so this is what Frida asked us to share with you so that you can see what we spoke to this morning. And so the policy statement, this one is also up for discussion as the next one of the next items on the agenda. So the information we have now is we've had some discussion. We've had Daryl give us some clarifying information. Ricky provided us with his thoughts. We have received thoughts from Buck, Will, and Granville, and we have this statement. I saw two other hands that were raised, and Kendall is going to hopefully let us see who those other hands were.
Well, I was hoping that you would post the policy statement and then I could.
Oh, sure. All right, sure, Frida. Go ahead, Frida. I will go ahead and let you go, and then we'll go next to who's next. Joe Thompson is after Frida. So go ahead, Frida.
Sure. So after participating in the discussion in September's quarterly meeting and listening to the discussion this morning and the massaging or the wordsmithing of the policy statement, what I was going to suggest is since we're removing something from our legislative agenda, that should the board decide to vote to approve this policy statement, that could be added at the bottom of our legislative agenda, because right now we don't have a bill number, we don't know what the wording says, but it shows our intent to support Virginia Healthy Soils initiatives. And the word, there's some wording there that's specific about the type of policies and actions that we support. And to just have that be at the bottom of the one pager, because the reason why we were limiting how many agenda items would be was so that it would all fit on one page and be concise. And since we removed one, I was hoping we could put it in and just present it as a policy statement to have it there to make it easy. So that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay. Thank you, Frida, for your comment. And next we have Joe Thompson. Is that correct? Joe, are you on?
I am on, and that is correct. I'm vice chair at Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water Conservation District and chair of the Ag Committee. I'd say a couple things about this. I agree with what Frida just said. Let me start with that. I think that would be an excellent approach. The thing that I think has been lost here in the discussion is, once again, here's an opportunity for our state association to come forward to the public as a leader in the areas that we say we represent, soil and water conservation. Obviously, this is soil. And this is, one way we can do this. Also with the legislatures. It's the same issue for me. It's raising the image of the soil and water conservation districts, recognizing what we are doing, how that relates to this issue. And as this issue goes forward and matures, that we can be the central player and not just another subset in the process. So I think it's very critical that there is that level of recognition by the association to move forward. I also recognize the constraints that we have in working with the legislator this year because of COVID and their restricted session. That being said, that should not preclude us from recognizing our role in this very critical issue as it goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for your comments. Daphne Jameson is next for comments.
I move to cut off debate on this amendment.
I second that motion. Chuck Arneson.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor from Daphne Jameson to cut off the debate on this issue, and from Chuck, what's Chuck's last name? Chuck Arneson. Sorry, Chuck. Arneson, as second that motion. do we have discussion on that? No. All right. So there's no discussion on that. And so we will move right into that motion. And again, at the bottom of your participant screen is a green for yes and red for no. And then also if you could put your votes in the bottom if you have multiple directors, voting directors in your office. Ready? All those in favor of cutting off the debate on the soil health initiative issue signify by saying aye or voting yes. All those opposed, no. And we'll give it a few minutes so everybody can vote. Again, voting is limited to directors and appointed directors, not associate directors or staff. So we're going to give Peter Francis for no. Peter Francis for yes.
You got one over here to add to your 31.
Okay.
Think you have any questions at the moment?
34. It looks like a majority. Yeah.
41 to 13.
All right. So we're calling votes now. They're 41 to 13. Majority passes the motion to cut off discussion on the soil and health discussion topic. So the next motion, go ahead. Richard's going to.
This is Richard Taylor. I'll call the question.
I had my hand up and had been recognized by the president. I'd like to make a motion that we table the legislative agenda until immediately after the discussion on the policy.
I'll second that.
Okay, so let's get our motions straight. So we have.
The motion is to table discussion, is to table the motion to approve the legislative agenda until immediately after the policy discussion on the agenda.
Okay, and then we have a second. So Richard is making a motion to table approval of the legislative agenda until after the discussion on the policy statement, and Ricky has seconded that.
Not debatable.
It's not debatable. So we will move to that motion. But there are two other motions in play here, and so we'll, just as a matter of order, we will go back to those motions at the later time, because we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Then we had a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment of adding the Healthy Soils program back in. So, and this is a third motion to table that discussion. So my point of order question is, if we table this now, then we will go back to those two motions at that time. All right. Hopefully that is clear to everyone. We are going to go to call the motion now. Again, ayes are green, yes, reds are nay. All those in favor of tabling the approval of the legislative agenda until after the policy statement discussion of the Healthy Soils Initiative signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Again, and then please record your comments in the box. Or this is going to be a little bit more split.
Doesn't look like it.
No, okay. All right, we have
4. Well,
all right.
37 to 89, 40, 41. Are you in favor?
Favor.
Favor? Favor? Okay. 40, 46.
46. All right. And then did you?
46 to 6.
No, it's to 11 because they have Southside has 5 no's.
Oh.
Southside has 0 yeses and 5 no's.
I got you. I only got Peter. Okay. Still passes.
Still passes. 46 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the motion passes 46-11. So we will table further discussion till after the policy statement. And then if I look at the issue, so, and just one more question. So for this given issue, individuals that have, and I'm turning to my parliamentarian for this information. When we go to the policy statement discussion, we do have individuals who have spoken this round on this particular issue. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals who spoke for 2 minutes. Do those individuals not speak again or have another?
Anybody can speak, it's just not on a motion. There has to be a motion.
Okay, on the
There has to be a
motion.
motion to
All
speak.
right, but I guess if we come to a motion, they have.
Oh, yeah. It's a new motion.
All right. All right. So if we have a new motion, if you have already spoken, you can speak again, because if there's a new motion on this topic, then we're back to square one, I suppose. All right. Thank you. That was fun. That was efficient. We're working through it. So thanks for your patience. Sorry if it sounds like I'm reiterating a lot, but there is a lot to talk about. So that being said, we're moving on to the next topic, which is the policy book statement, right? So we are now going to, and I think what I might recommend that we go ahead and discuss the non-discrimination policy first. I would like to discuss the non-discrimination policy first, and then we will discuss the soil health policy. That way, they will be in, I feel like, in the right order for discussion. Okay. So Kendall will put up on the screen to you a non-discrimination policy proposal that we're bringing forward to our membership for approval. And I've said before, this policy statement I feel very strongly about. It came out of an issue raised by Jim Gelson, and I've said this before, and I've said this in a couple area meetings. I really appreciate Jim's push for this to get us on board with putting together in writing a non-discriminatory statement. And so a draft had gone around to the different areas for approval and discussion. We got a lot of really great feedback. And so I would like for Kendall to highlight the one paragraph where we received the most comments. Kudos to all the areas for a very constructive conversation that played a very big role in ensuring that this paragraph was inclusive of forms of discrimination. I will caveat that with this could be a very, very long paragraph, and as some people some conversation we had is that there are a lot of ways that, and I can't remember who said it. It was Lady Area 6. There are a lot of ways people could be bad to other people, and unfortunately, we can't capture them all. But I think that we've done a really good job of the universe of discrimination that folks feel are important to capture here in this policy. So this is the policy that will be voted on today for inclusion in our policy book. So what we would need is now a motion to adopt this policy statement.
Frida Cathcart moves to adopt.
All right, we have a first from Frida. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ricky Rash. All right, we'll open up for discussion. Is there any discussion on this policy statement as presented? This is the non-discrimination policy. Do we have any chat box? All right, hearing no discussion and seeing nothing in the chat, hand raised, we'll go to a motion. We'll make sure that our chat, are we cleared? Okay, we're all cleared. All right. All those in favor of adopting the policy statement on non-discrimination as presented, signify by saying aye by checking yes, and opposed no by checking the red X. And then in your chat box, please record the votes from your office.
This is Jim Christian from Loudon. I can't see the voting box. Thank you.
Should be able to find it, but.
All right, so you got recorded in the box. And then we're going to, you already have 4 here. So what's our number?
4 plus 5 to 4, 8, 53 to 3.
53 to 3. All right, so we've tallied the voting members and the motion passes 53 to 3 in favor of the motion. So we have now approved the policy statement on non-discrimination, which will be reviewed in 1 year or 3 years?
1 year.
All right, and so the policy will come back up for review in 1 year. Because the policy book comes back up for review next year. So thank you for that. All right, now Kendall will put on the screen for us the Virginia Healthy Soils Initiative amended initiative policy as amended this morning by the board along with area chairs. And so we are putting this, the board is putting forward the motion for adoption of the policy statement to establish a Virginia, to assist with establishing a Virginia Healthy Soil Program.
I make the motion that we accept the policy as amended this morning.
All right, so Ricky Rash has made a motion to accept the policy as amended, which Kendall has on your screen. Do I have a second?
John Peterson, Northern Virginia will second.
John Peterson, Northern Virginia. All right, so we're opening up the policy statement for discussion. Again, our rules of order apply for discussion here, the procedures that we just talked about earlier. So, all right, opening up for discussion. Do we have any hands raised?
Yes,
Oh, Mr. Taylor, I see your hand first.
I do. Thank you. Just a point of clarification. Does this policy statement might be included in our legislative package?
Policy statement is policy book.
Yeah, so no, the policy statement goes into the policy book and the legislative agenda are the items that we are presenting directly to our legislators in the General Assembly, typically to advocate for, usually there's a dollar amount associated with a lot of our legislative agenda items. This year is a little different because we have the issue about a bill for the Soil and Water Conservation Board. But no, the policy statements are recorded in our policy book.
Thank you, and I agree with that statement. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Tiziana Bottino, Prince William County Soil and Water. So it cannot, there is no such a thing as a motion to add a policy statement to the legislative agenda. Like, is that even something that would be possible to do? Like, does there have to be a monetary value to be added to the legislative agenda, or can it just be added to show the support?
No, that's coming up. So that discussion about whether or not the statement should be added to the legislative agenda will be coming up after a decision on this policy statement.
Gotcha, thank you.
Reiterate why our policy book is longer standing than a legislative agenda. and allow us to
Okay,
do, like,
so I'm gonna let Ricky Rash speak to this policy statement.
By including a policy statement in our policy book, even if it's for 1 year and readdressing it next year, it gives Kendall and the association leadership the latitude to support anything that comes up during the session that pertains to this. While it may not be, it may or may not be, I should clarify, on our legislative agenda, it does give us language in a policy book that we can support an initiative that we have no idea is coming down the pike. That is the primary reason for a policy statement, because we don't always know what our legislative agenda may be. Don Wells and several of us looked through the bills that are pre-filed, and we kind of flag things that may or may not include soil and water conservation districts, non-point source pollution, and we monitor those. And if we have a policy that we can apply to those certain bills that are presented without our prior knowledge, then we can take a position on them through our policy book.
Thank you, Ricky. All right, so I have a couple other hands raised. So I've got them in this order right now: Monica, John, and Pamela. So Monica, you're up.
Yes,
Monica
hello.
Bilger.
Thank you very much. This is Monica Bilger with Northern Virginia Soil and Water. As I had mentioned in the Area 2 meeting when we spoke to this, I think it's really critically important for people to remember that when we're presenting legislative requests, they have to be very specific. And if we add on things just to elevate an issue, that's very separate than a legislative ask. We also need to have good champions behind legislation when we are presenting something, and we have that. And this is not a time when you go to lobby and when you go to request something, it's not a time to present, you know, we like this and we need this to be addressed. It's a time to be very specific. Otherwise, you kind of lose the momentum in other areas. So we have 4 specific asks. I'm very supportive of those going forward, and this remaining a policy where we can grow champions to help us support this in a stronger way as we get additional information that'll be critical for legislators to hear from the Virginia Tech program and potentially any other pilots that ever occur from that. So that's all I wanted to state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica. John Flannery. John, if you're on mute, you unmute yourself.
Okay, there we are. I'm sorry.
Hey, John.
You now can hear me, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. The policy generally, speaks in such general language. I agree that it's not presently in a standard that you would take to the General Assembly and ask them to do anything specifically. And I say this with my own background, at least in the US Congress, on both sides of the hill. But I'm fine with the policy except for the terms "and carbon sequestration." I think that the problem with that is it's how elusive it has been as a benefit to controlling carbon. Whether you look at it from the standpoint of the mining industry, or you look at it from the standpoint of us adding carbon to the soil and some sort of cover crop. And to the extent that the science now accepts the fact that cover crops can make a difference, the language of carbon sequestration suggests something else. And perhaps it suggests we're talking about something that, until it is not elusive or confirmed as useful, I think it should be struck. And so I'd make an amendment to strike the words "and carbon sequestration" from the present policy statement.
Okay, John, I've noted that comment as we move through discussion.
He made
He made a motion.
He made a motion to amend.
Yeah, my motion is to amend it to strike the words "and carbon sequestration" from paragraph 2 in the policy statement, in the proposed policy statement.
Do we have a second? Ricky, you're fine with that? Who was your other? Was John Peterson? John Peterson, are you fine with amending it to remove carbon sequestration?
I am.
Okay. All right. So now the motion on the floor would be to adopt the policy statement as amended to remove.
You gotta vote on the amendment.
I know. I'm just saying that we have to vote on the amendment.
Yes.
Right. Right. So I think that's what I was trying to say. So we vote on the amendment for the policy statement to remove carbon sequestration. Is there any discussion?
All right, yes. I'm sorry, do I need to raise a hand?
We do have people in the queue.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have several people in the queue for discussion, but the current amendment is to remove carbon sequestration. And so that would be done prior to any further discussion?
No, they're discussing the amendment. They're discussing the issue of removing the wording "and carbon sequestration."
That's what I thought. So Julie, do you have a comment on the, I'm going to go backwards because Julie's hand went up after the discussion about carbon sequestration. So
yes, thank you. I would just like to say, I agree that there is evolving science around soils, and it's the quantitative amounts of carbon that is potentially sequestered. However, I'd hate to strike carbon sequestration entirely from this policy statement. Perhaps we could add potential carbon sequestration to the statement instead, so that we still keep that language. I think it allows us all to have some more time over the next year if this is in there now. And I agree, it'll come back next year, but I'd hate to strike it. I'd rather add potential.
thank you. Is there any other discussion on carbon sequestration? The removal of the phrase?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of hands raised, so bear with me as I run through this. Anne Marie?
Yes, Anne Marie from Henricopolis. I just want to say that I agree with Julie's statement. And if this is still exploratory and in the stages where we're even still investigative prior to any potential legislation, then I think it's appropriate to leave, as Julie suggested, potential carbon sequestration in and not strike it altogether.
Okay, thank you. Tatiana?
Yeah, yes, I agree with the previous two statements. I think it's important to keep carbon sequestration. Also, I feel like just based on this discussion, and I'm new, but based on this discussion, I feel like our efforts to be really leaders, like outspoken leaders of acting on the climate crisis is being weakened and weakened by every word that we take out. And so I feel like if we take out carbon sequestration, there's a further weakening of pushing towards these efforts that are being pushed by the General Assembly and supported by them. So I think we need to really stand up and speak out more often.
I thought it was Laura too.
Arneson was on there too.
Okay, so now I'm going to run through these names. If you wanted to talk about the carbon sequestration, say yes. If not, we'll hold conversation. Pamela, did you want to talk, Pamela Mason, did you want to talk carbon sequestration, or were you talking more on the larger soil health initiative policy in general?
So originally I had in general, but in response to that, I also had a comment about carbon sequestration. Wordsmithing is always fun in a big group like this, and the word sequestration is an important catchphrase. It occurs to me that perhaps we could use the term storage, because that is a validated soil benefit and soil process. But the other thing is, I would definitely not want to, in whatever form it is, remove it. However, we are going to tweak the words. I think it's important to be in there. We have lots of research going on right now. and not just at Virginia Tech, although I understand they're the ones specifically looking at this, but USGS. And well, I work at VIMS, and so we are doing a lot of work right now on carbon sequestration, carbon storage in all kinds of soils. So there are lots of other entities looking into this, and I think I concur with the other people who've spoken before me about the carbon, keeping it in, so in some form.
Okay, so your recommendation is to change sequestration to storage. Okay, and so I guess just pause for a minute. We've got, I see Frida, you have your hand raised. Who else? We have a couple other folks.
Charles Newton and Don.
Just reading the comments real quickly.
Know that you need to remember it's not formal debate.
Hmm?
It's not formal debate.
Oh, it's not. I just would like to read them,
Okay.
if that's okay. Sorry, I like an opportunity to read the comments as well, just so I know what everyone is, those that are thinking that aren't speaking.
So did you call on me? Or are you waiting to?
I'm getting ready to call on you, Frida.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, Frida.
Okay. I was just going to say, there's an impressive, robust movement across the state in support of carbon sequestration and exploring the science about the soils. I understand about we're still discovering and the science is still unfolding when it comes to quantitative, but there's a lot of interest and momentum, something that's going to be very supportive of the Virginia Healthy Soils initiative and upcoming potential legislation. So I think it is important to leave that in there, whether you add potential before it or not. And I'm going to put a link in the chat to a video called Kiss the Ground in case people haven't seen it, that was brought up with a lot of urban people that are very interested in soil now. So I think that's kind of cool. And for people that are interested, they can check it out. So.
Okay, thank you, Frida. All right, so right now, do we have 2 new chats? All right, bear with us. Like I said, we just want to make sure that we have an efficient conversation where everyone that needs to be heard gets heard. So I appreciate your patience. Okay, I got that. I think I saw that pop up. All right, so right now we have on the floor discussion on the removal of carbon sequestration. And I haven't heard any new motions. So
discussion is ended. You call for the question.
Mm-hmm. All right, so just we're going to end the discussion and go ahead and move to a vote. So again, the motion is to remove and carbon sequestration from the policy statement as currently presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye by checking yes. All those opposed, nay by checking no. And then please record numbers in the chat as needed. So can we have a look at the list?
It's Jim Christian again. I need to see the yes, no vote screen.
Actually, you need to stop sharing, but there we go. Does not look like it comes out at this point. 4-0, 22.
All right, and you've got
25
and
This is more federal issue anyway.
all right, how many do we have here? Are you a yes or no?
No.
So don't remove it.
I wouldn't remove it either.
No. So 4 no's.
All right, so it looks like you are. Hold
There.
on. It's still changing up there.
Yeah, we'll give everybody a few more minutes to cast your vote.
Convince me otherwise.
Let's see. Well,
Again, you're voting on whether or not to remove carbon sequestration from the policy. So yes is remove it, no is do not remove it, correct?
that's
12
all
right.
to 39.
All right. So if we're calling vote now, we've tallied it. It's 13 to 39. And so the motion carries. So we will keep
Motion fails.
motion fails. Sorry, motion fails. Thanks. They're hard to keep track here. But all right, motion fails. We're leaving carbon sequestration in currently. So now we're going back to the previous discussion on the main motion, which is the adoption of the policy statement supporting the establishment of a Virginia Healthy Soils Initiative.
Can I move that we close debate on this issue?
Yes.
I will. I'm Daphne Jamison from Blue Ridge.
Pamela Mason, raise your
This
hand.
is Will Littner. I second that motion.
I think
Director
before,
from Prince William.
I think before Daphne, her hand was raised, wasn't it?
Yes.
Pamela, your hand was raised before Daphne's motion. So we'll go ahead and let you make a comment.
Great. Thank you. And I actually go by Pam, but you know.
Oh, sorry, Pam.
Pam was my birth name, but that's fine. My comment is around sort of a question. If you could put the policy back up again. I know you switched the screen, but there was the soil health and productivity, and then the second one goes to biological activity and carbon sequestration. And my question is if it wouldn't be appropriate to somehow include consideration or some reflection on the role of healthy soils for healthy, for human health and safety. So in other words, the thing that's missing here is this is all very productivity slanted, which is fine and probably appropriate, but it seems to me that part of the healthy soils, because you mentioned in the one thing where it talks about toxics, let's see, where is that? Well, actually you mentioned fertilizer application, but fertilizer and insecticide applications and things like that feed back into toxics and potential adverse effects on human health. And so I was just raising that question if that was already, I wasn't privy to the conversation originally, so maybe that was already discussed and this is intentionally very narrow, but I just wanted to ask that question, and it's really more of a question than a recommendation at this point.
If I can just respond to that before we go back to that, I would like to just remind you that this is will come up for a 1-year review. Next year. I do believe that that's a good recommendation for consideration in the next review. Okay. A lot of research went into trying to develop that policy. And so I think that at this point in time, we would limit the statement to what is written here now and take into consideration the human side of things once we could do a little bit more research. But I think that there is time. So that being said, there is a motion on the floor from Daphne and was seconded by, who seconded that motion?
Will Littner.
Will Littner second that motion. And so the motion is to end discussion on the end debate on the policy statement and call for the question, right?
On the ending of debate.
On the ending of debate. So, right. On the ending of the debate. That's why I have a parliamentarian with us today. All right. So we're going to move. All those in favor of ending the debate signify by saying aye by clicking yes. All opposed, no. And then the two districts with the numbers. Yeah. Okay. South side, yes. Peter Francisco, 4. Just give it a few more, one more second. Yeah, okay. So motion carries, and we were ending motion on ending the debate. So now the debate is ended. We will call for a vote on adoption of the policy statement for supporting the establishment of a Virginia Healthy Soils Initiative as presented. And I was just let Kendall throw it up one more time, just so folks know what they're voting on.
Madam President, should you clarify as amended at the board meeting this morning?
Yeah, I can do that. And I was waiting for her to throw it up to the screen. Okay, as amended, Could you just scroll up really quick, Kendall? See where it says Virginia Healthy Soils Program? Because we made that change earlier, we should probably say initiative there, just to be consistent.
It's in there.
It is, but it's not at the top in the title.
Got it.
Yeah, I just want, for consistency, I want to make sure that we're clear. Okay, so all those in favor of adopting the policy statement as amended by the board this morning and is presented to you now for supporting the establishment of a Virginia Healthy Soils initiative, signify by saying aye or checking yes in your participants box, or nay by checking no, and then please record the other comments in your box. Okay, so box, south side is no or yes.
8 no, 37,
Same side voted against it at the Area 5 meeting.
39, 40, 41 to 10. It's passed.
This is basically 40,
1 to 10.
10.
I never necessarily counted it.
All right. So we have the numbers in, and the motion carries to adopt the policy statement as amended this morning and presented to you now on supporting the establishment of Virginia Healthy Soils Initiative. All right, thank you for that healthy discussion. Now we will move to discussion on the legislative agenda. Everybody take a deep breath while I try to gather my thoughts and find my papers. Okay, here we go. So we had multiple, we're back to the legislative agenda. We had moved originally to table discussion and agreed to table discussion until now, after the decision on the policy. And we have, I believe, 2 motions still on the floor. I know, I'm getting ready to cover it. The first motion was to adopt the legislative agenda as presented and recommended by the board this morning, with the removal of the dam rehabilitation. After that was an amendment, was a motion to amend the legislative agenda to include the soil health initiative. And there was some discussion on that. And now we're back to the discussion on including the soil health initiative. All right, did I
Is
cover
there a need for a motion to take this off the table?
Yeah, yes. So
I
do we need
so move.
Okay, who is that, Don?
It was, but you do have a hand raised.
Okay, before we go to that, there is a hand raised. Stephen Hill.
Yes, this is Steve Hill from Culpeper Soil and Water Conservation District. One of the going in arguments from Mr. Glover and also from Mr. Rasher is that there's no data, there's no quantitative information on this. And I'd just like to point out that the National Association of Conservation Districts has done case studies and completed them and concluded that soil health practices cut fertilizer costs, cut erosion repair costs, and increase yields. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. And we'll go back now. We need to.
So is bringing it off the table, making it alive again?
Yes, that's what we're trying to do.
So whatever I can do to help that.
Well, we need a motion. We need to motion to open discussion.
Okay,
Don made the motion. So Frida, can you want to second that?
Yes.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor and a second to open up the discussion again on the soil health issue for the legislative agenda. So all those in favor signify by saying aye or checking yes. All those opposed, please check no. And then if we could get the numbers in the chat box from Southside and Peter Francisco.
I have a direct message to clarify that. By voting yes, it means we discuss
You're
the
taking
healthy.
it back from the table.
Can you explain exactly the motion again? Someone's direct messaged me asking.
Okay, Richard's gonna explain a little bit more.
The motion that you're acting on right now is to bring back the discussion from the table. So the first item of business that will be on your discussion will be the amendment to the motion.
Right, so just for clarification, we're reopening discussion on the amendment to include the healthy soils on the legislative agenda. All right, so again, all those in favor signify by saying or clicking yes. All those opposed, no. We've got Southside, we need Peter Francisco in the chat box.
Wouldn't make a
It's okay, but
what I do see is some votes changing because of your clarification.
all right.
I have another point of clarification, if I can make it. This is Richard Taylor. Are you saying if we vote no, then we won't have additional discussion? Is that correct?
That's correct. If we vote no and the motion fails, that means that we would go right. No, wait, no, hold on.
The motion that was presented by Don Wells and duly seconded was to bring back the legislative agenda discussion from the table. If you vote to bring it back from the table, the first item you discuss will be the amendment to the legislative agenda.
That's clear. Yeah, okay,
So just to clarify, if we don't bring it back to the table, doesn't mean that we move on with the rest of the agenda and we don't discuss the legislation anymore?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I've asked Kendall to clear the vote again. So if you could please cast your vote again, based on the clarification provided by Richard. So, yes. All right. Given the numbers, the motion has passed, and we will now reopen discussion. All right. So now we're back to discussion on the amendment to include the Healthy Soils Initiative on the legislative agenda.
May I?
Yes, Richard.
All right. May I clarify? First of all, the legislative agenda, there was an amendment to include the soil health initiative into the legislative agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right. Okay. There's an amendment to include that in the legislative agenda. So that's what you're discussing right now.
Okay. All right. And I would appreciate, I think the easiest thing for us to do, and this seems to be working, is if you would like to make a comment, to please raise your hand, and we will catch folks' discussion in the order they raise their hand. All right, I've got Stephen Hill first on my screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to apologize for jumping ahead of the discussion there by making my comment, but we do really have quantitative data that healthy soils matters and it helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. It's okay. It's a little confusing for everyone. And so like I said, patience is key, and I appreciate it. Granville, I've got you next. Granville, are you on mute? All right. Can't do anything. There he is. He's off mute now.
Okay, there you go. Yes, healthy soils. Anytime you want a healthier soil, produce more, more nutrient value. But the thing of it is, we're spending all this time on something we do not know what the agenda is, any of these things we're trying to put together before we pass something. And to me, it is so foolish until we spend a year studying and put this thing together properly to move forward with soil health. Because here in the safe side of Virginia, we go back to 1960, some of them doing no-till, strip till. In fact, it started in Dinwiddie County in 1960. And to spend all this time on something we've been doing for years, working with Soil and Water and NRCS and guiding them on these things before a lot of these things, in fact, even putting down dairy waste and stuff. My brother's extension aide was doing it in the 1970s before DCR and even came forward on it. Let's work and put these things together before we present legislation that will come back down the road to burn us or dictate and regulate. Thank you.
Thank you, Granville. All right, Monica.
Yes, I just wanted to point out, I don't know if this is the correct space because I know there was a discussion of putting it in as a policy at the bottom, not as legislation. So is that another conversation? Because that was a motion, I think.
Monica, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
There was a motion someone made to put this in as policy statement at the bottom of the legislative page. So I wasn't sure if this was the space to address that or if it's just as another legislative ask.
Yeah, so I don't know there was a motion. I think it was
it was my suggestion, and the suggestion was to add it to the usually it's called like legislative paper. They try and get like an organization's agenda. They usually like to have just a one page or something.
Right,
like legislators. There's just
okay.
one page.
Yeah.
And my
All right.
suggestion was instead of having it to be supporting legislation, was to just at the bottom of the page put our policy statement to show that we're
Okay,
supportive.
Frida, we're trying to keep within trying not to talk over each other and keep us within our procedures. So Monica.
So yes,
yes,
thank you. I'll just to address both of those points, just to go back again. I think that, we really, when we're doing a presentation in front of legislators, they have a very limited amount of time. 4 asks is already, usually where you want to be. Even 3 is better, but that's what it is. When you have the asks, they should be very specific. And again, this is this is a very broad kind of request, and it would be beneficial to us, I think, as a network to showcase that we have more information before we bring it forward, and that we have a legislative champions on our side to bring that forward. And I would also recommend not putting it in as a policy statement at the bottom either, only because you don't want too much in that space. So that would be I would suggest we don't follow this as added on, neither as another legislative piece or a policy statement at the bottom. Again, we want to push the requests we have, knowing what this kind of year is going to be ahead as well. And I think it's very critical that we recognize the capacity of our legislators for what they can provide us and what we really need. And this is just kind of a bigger picture piece that we shouldn't be presenting in front of as a legislation.
Thank you, Monica. I'm going to go with Richard Hoover. He has his hand raised. He has not spoken yet.
Yeah, thank you. I would agree with our previous speaker and also with Daryl Glover. I mean, this is not what we're working on. This is not a policy agenda. It's a legislative agenda. And there'll be confusion if we put it in there. And I think we've got to work on it first and come up with some legislation. And we are in no way, as far as I can tell, near that right now. Thank you.
want a motion to end the discussion?
I got cut off before when.
Yeah, go ahead, Frida, take it just a few minutes. I think
Yeah,
that,
I put it in the chat. Just want to make sure everybody sees that. Adding that, there's already going to be advocacy champions that are going to be doing the Healthy Soil program going around. If we include that statement at the bottom of our page, we're more likely to get our legislative agenda in their packets and help them advocate when they go to the legislators that we're a part of that. So I just wanted people to consider that.
I had my hand up, so I don't know, before the motion.
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Yana Botino. Yeah, I agree I understand completely like everyone's point of view, but I do have to agree with Frida that I just feel like there has been many others that are working on this, and what it really means. And it's like we don't have time. Everyone, you know, I understand the call for it to be more specific. I really do, because I work on this kind of thing too. But then when do we work on it to make it more specific? Do we wait until next year or a few years? Like I heard someone saying that's just such a long time. And it's just like we're dragging our feet to really promote carbon sequestration, which is so urgent and so important. You know, like the climate crisis is not like in 20, 30, 40 years from now, it's happening now. So it's just like we're dragging our feet into technicalities and, you know, wording when there is people that are already working on this. There's something that's being passed in Maryland, which that's where it started, like someone mentioned in the chat. So I don't know. I think we're dragging our feet a little bit on technicalities, and I wish we could just add it to the legislative agenda.
Okay, Ricky had his hand up here just a few minutes ago before you started speaking. Ricky, do you have something you'd like to say?
I would really like to make a motion to call for the question. I think we've heard both sides of the argument, and I think we have enough information that we can vote this in to the legislative agenda or out of the legislative, or keep it out of the legislative agenda.
All right, so I have a motion to call for the question.
I second.
Chuck Harris, second.
Taylor Clark, second.
All right, we'll go with Taylor Clark because he's the last one I heard. I like having a variety of individuals pitch in. So Taylor, you are a second. All right, so we're calling for the question. The question was to amend the legislative agenda to include the Healthy Soils Initiative. All right.
No.
What? So are we all clear on what we're voting on?
We're voting on to call the question, correct?
Oh,
Or to end debate, to end debate.
The end debate. Yes, we're voting on the end debate. All those in favor of ending the debate. So this is just an approval to end the debate, to stop talking. Signify by saying aye and check yes, no, red. All right. The motion to end the debate has passed. So we are now ending the debate. All right. So now we're going to the motion about the amendment. So the amendment that we're now voting on, or the item we're now voting on, is to amend the legislative agenda to include the Healthy Soils Initiative. So let me repeat that again. Did you clear the votes? We're clearing the votes. So we've cleared the votes. You're now voting on amending the legislative agenda as was previously presented to include the Healthy Soils Initiative. All those in favor of amending the legislative agenda to include healthy soils signify by saying yes or checking yes box. All those opposed, no. Again,
If you want it in, yes.
yes if you want it in, no if you do not want to include it in the legislative agenda. What do we got here? No. So it's 4.
is no. No, 9.
1745. You're fine.
17, what are that?
So it is not included.
So 16 to 34, 45.
45.
All right, the motion, based on the numbers presented, the motion has failed by majority. All right, so now we're moving back to the very first motion, which was the motion to approve the legislative agenda as recommended and amended by the board this morning to remove the dam rehabilitation item. That is now the current motion on the floor. Are we having discussion on that? Or is there any discussion? All right, seeing no hands and hearing none. All those in favor of approving the legislative agenda as presented and amended by the board this morning to remove dam rehabilitation. So now you're just going to have the 4 items on the legislative agenda, and that'll include maintain the operating funds for 47 districts, establishing a dedicated and adequate, secure and stable source of funding for the Virginia Natural Resource Commitment Fund, continue to support the VCAP and the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation Board representation, bill to amend the code about clarifying appointments. Signify by saying aye or checking the green box yes, or no, or opposed by checking the red X. Again, we are approving the legislative agenda.
Okay.
All right.
Approved.
Motion is carried. We have approved the legislative agenda for 2021. Thank you all for your patience and the discussion. I know it was very challenging, and I've got to say, I think that everyone did a very good job. I really appreciate my parliamentarian for keeping me straight. All right. Thank you. We've only got about 30 minutes left to run through the rest of our agenda. And I think that Kendall and I can probably do that fairly efficiently. So we have a brief thing on the training blitz agenda item. Kendall wanted to talk about a couple of the training blitzes coming up. One of them is on legislative topics. She is throwing up on the screen now for you the association website where you can find the links. The legislative training event will take place on January 7th. This is a great way, in lieu of our legislative day that we would normally have, to hear from the delegates. And could you briefly talk about that training?
I do see a question in the chat box. There were only 2 no votes to the legislative agenda approval. There was overwhelming majority, over 40, without even counting the room in here. To the topic Janina spoke to, on your screen, December 15th, there's a FOIA training. This meets Code of Virginia training requirements. January 6th is our partner agency panel. You may have heard me say we normally do a panel session at our annual meeting when it is in person. We've pushed that into January, and we'll have Director Chrisman, Director Paler, new state conservationist Dr. Martinez, and we hope to include someone from NACD in this lineup. It will make sense pushing it into January, not only to hear about what is happening at their own agencies and how we can better partner, but at this time we would actually have knowledge of the governor's proposed budget, and certainly our state agency heads can offer some insight on that effort. January 7th, we'll talk all about how bill becomes a law, how the budget process works, how we'll move our legislative agenda forward. More importantly, we'll hear from Delegate Ken Plum, who will come to speak to us about General Assembly insights. We want a very large crowd on that one, so I encourage you and ask you to take the time for those. I will stop there in terms of training blitz items, but please check out the website. Ms. France, that's all I have. You can move on to your federal report.
Yeah, I just know January 13th is the first day of General Assembly session. We had a comments. Appreciate vote count, vote numbers for motion for vote numbers for the motion for including healthy soils. All right, so I just want to address Mr. Thompson's question. He had raised a question for us about vote numbers for the last votes.
The vote for healthy soils was 17 to 45. There was agreement not to include healthy soils in our legislative agenda.
And then for the approval of the legislative agenda, the votes were, there were only 2 no votes. Does that clarify your question, Mr. Thompson?
Okay.
Okay.
I just have a real quick question of Kendall there. Those meetings that you're going to have on the legislation, they're going to be virtual, am I correct?
That's correct. We will not have an in-person legislative day this year. We ask you to join the 2 sessions instead.
You just said you're going to have a big crowd, and
Right.
it was a virtual crowd.
Yeah, big virtual crowd.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. John, could you give us the report on the federal legislative issues and keep it a little brief? That'd be great.
I surely may. First of all, Congress is back in session now for their lame duck session. And the only thing they really have to do is keep the government open. They'll need a new continuing resolution to do that. The current one expires on Friday, December 11th. By the way, if I were betting right now and we're betting on who might be a Democrat candidate for the Secretary of Agriculture, I think I'd bet on Marcia Fudge from Ohio. She seems to be the name I'm hearing most. I would also tell you that there's a lot of optimism on Capitol Hill right now that they could reach a deal on a big virus package, probably about $900 billion. And if they do, that proposal would include $26 billion for agriculture and nutrition spending and $10 billion for broadband expansion. The other thing I would just mention for everybody, you can read the report, but we've lost 2 real ag and conservation giants from our, well, they're taking a step into the background, I guess. Senator Pat Roberts from Kansas is retiring. He was chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, and I've known Pat for probably close to 40 years. And Colin Peterson from Minnesota was not elected. He was chair of the House Ag Committee. And both those people were really supportive of us and good for us, and we're going to miss them. That's enough.
All right, thank you, John. All right, I'm just asking a clarifying question for my executive director here. Did you see my question about nominations? Can we move that up because of time?
If you would like.
All right, John, and memberships here. I would like to be given the time. I just want to move up the nominations committee report and elections of officers before we go into our executive report, President and Executive Director report items. John, could you give us your nominations committee report?
I can. First of all, the nominating committee this year consisted of Joan Commoner from the Lord Fairfax Conservation District, Gary Boring from the New River District, and myself. And the state association will elect today the president for a 1-year term, the first vice president for a 1-year term, the second vice president for a 1-year term, the NACD board rep for a 2-year term, and our current treasurer, Don Wells, is not up for election this year. So our nominating committee recommends the following. For the position of State Association President, Giannina France from Tri-County. For the position of State Association First Vice President, Lynn Graves from Culpeper. For the position of State Association Second Vice President, Wayne Davis from Colonial. And for the position of NACD Board Rep, Stephen Meeks from Thomas Jefferson. That work of the nominating committee is now concluded, and we appreciate being able to serve you in this way.
Okay. All right.
Can you have
Thank
time
you,
for a motion
John.
now?
Yeah, and just so folks know, Stephen, I didn't completely forget about you. I know I see you on NACD, but we'll go ahead and do this and then get right back to the NACD report, if that's okay. Yes, Granville. Do you have a motion?
Yes, motion to approve the slate of officers.
Yeah.
Does that need to be or just a second?
We'll need a second, right? Yes.
I'll second the motion. This is Daphne Jamison, Blue Ridge.
Thank you, Daphne. All right. Is there any discussion? All right. The motion on the floor is to vote for the slate of officers as presented by the nominating committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye by checking yes. All those opposed, no, by checking the red X.
Congratulations. Unanimous.
All right, looks to be unanimous. Thank you all for your support, and your motion has carried. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to back right into the NACD report. We have Stephen Meeks with us, as well as Candace Avenatti from the NACD Southeast region. She's our Southeastern representative. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephen to do introductions.
All right, thank you, Madam President. The board heard my report this morning, so they don't hear me repeat everything twice. I'm going to turn it over to Candace and let her go through it. There's one item I left out of my report. Candace will pick up on it. So I'll just with one of us try to answer them. Candace?
All right, great. Well, thank you, Stephen. I'm looking forward to working with you in your new role as NACD Southeast Region Vice Chair. And also just wanted to say a big thank you to you and John Peterson for all that you do as NACD board members to represent Virginia and support the National Association. I'd like to also acknowledge on today's call, we have NACD President-elect Michael Crowder, as well as Southeast Executive Board member Gary Blair, who are listening in. And just to kick off, I'd like to thank Virginia's districts and the association for all of your continued support to NACD this year. Virginia has once again earned the distinction of being a state with 100% of districts providing dues to NACD. So you all are in a small handful of states. So we are so grateful for this continued support as we represent conservation districts on Capitol Hill, as we shift to a new administration, and also to continue to adapt our programs for the challenges that we're facing today and tomorrow. And one big way that we're adapting, like you all, is we are excited to announce that NACD is holding our 75th annual meeting virtually in February of 2021. So those dates are going to be February 1st through 10th. The first week, February 1st through 5th, is business meetings for NACD board members. And then the second week will be that traditional big NACD meeting. So February 8th, 9th, and 10th. We'll feature speakers, have district awards and recognition, do some national updates and breakout sessions. And like you all have been focused on, our breakout sessions this year have some fantastic speakers focused on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So please be sure to check out our website for details and to register. It's just $50 a person, which is different. We are hoping that with this format, we're going to reach a wider audience. So please help us to spread the word, particularly since you don't have to pay for travel costs, and there's lots of opportunities to participate in that event. Real quickly, I'd also like to share with you 3 grant opportunities. We have 2 grant cycles that are coming up and will shortly be announced that I wanted you all to be aware of. So first is the Urban Agriculture Conservation Grant Program. In the past, 4 districts in Virginia have been awarded over $250,000 through this grant program. And this year we have a 5th round of funding that's become available, and we will be announcing it soon, I think as early as this week. So for the 2nd year in a row, previous grantees may apply. So if you are interested in that program, stay tuned for updates and feel free to reach out to me for more details as well. We also have a 4th round of technical assistance grants funding. So this is funding that we have through an agreement with NRCS. And it is really to put boots on the ground. So districts across the country use these grants for hiring and retaining staff and contractors, and helping support EQIP, CODA, and CSP programs. Virginia had a district apply for last year's round, so it's been great to work with Thomas Jefferson Soil Water Conservation District, and if other districts in Virginia are interested in that program, as I said, a 4th round is going to be announced very soon, and I am happy to answer any questions that you might have. So finally, a third grant program that's fairly new. It's the second year that we've been able to offer it. And with this one, the deadline has passed, but I just wanted to make you all aware of it for future opportunities because we hope to continue it annually. And that's the Friends of NACD grant program. It supports 4 grants. I like to call it kind of a micro grant program, but they're up to $2,500 each to be awarded. This round will be awarded at NACD's annual meeting in February. And the funding comes from donations, individual donations to our Friends of NACD program. So those donations are directly used to support districts, and grants can be used by districts to support new activities. They can test novel approaches to district operations. So anything like outreach activities, resource assessments, small scale studies, those are all things that we would encourage. So again, that deadline has passed this year, but we hope it will be something that you'll continue to be on the lookout for each year as we announce that opportunity. Just some other districts, other resources for districts. I wanted to point out our government affairs team remains hard at work. We sent transition letters to President-elect Biden's lead on the USDA review team addressing locally led approach to conservation, the importance of the conservation partnership, touched on NRCS staffing issues and the Farm Bill program. So if you have an interest in learning a little bit more about what we submitted there, I'd encourage you to check that out on our webpage. Let's see, we also have available for districts. I just wanted to remind folks of our monthly webinars. So our next one coming up is going to be on December 17th. And these are with the help of the Scott's Miracle Grow Foundation. The next webinar is going to focus on growing community, specifically on the topic of flexibility, adaptability, and collaboration during COVID-19. And if you don't already receive them in your inbox, please be sure to sign up for our publications. We have 4 of them: e-resource, the resource forestry notes, and our weekly conservation clips. And is really, if you haven't had a chance yet, check out the fall 2020 issue of the resource that just launched last week. I was really delighted to collaborate with Kathy Clark from Northern Neck to showcase how they're making employee field safety a priority in that issue. And if you check out the back page of that edition, you'll also see some discounts for a local Virginia business, EnviroScape. We were able to work out with them some discounts that are good through December 31st on some of their hands-on models. And just to wrap up, with so many involved in Envirothon, I did check in with our Envirothon coordinator. She did tell me that everything is on track to hold NCF Envirothon in 2021, whether that's, safely gathering in person or coming together for a virtual contest. So stay posted on news from that. And that's all that I have, Stephen. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here today with everybody. And again, I'm Candace Saponanti, NACD Southeast Region Representative. So if I can help connect you with the NACD resources or answer questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Thank you, Candace.
Okay, sorry, we were being unmuted here. So thank you, Candace and Stephen. Does anybody have any questions? Stephen, did you have anything else, or are you good?
No, she covered it all.
All right, great, thank you. All right, we're gonna go to our next agenda item, which is our President Executive Director report items. Kendall's gonna talk about a lot of this so we can keep this efficient. Again, a lot of this information is stuff that would have normally been presented at different areas or different aspects in an in-person meeting. So we're trying to make sure that it gets coverage here as well. So, and stay on the line because we're gonna do raffle drawings after this.
That's true. Thank you, President France. I will try to move through this quickly. Don't take it personally. There are so many great winners to recognize. I at least want to announce those today and share some of that, what we would have normally done at an awards luncheon and banquet. First, because you don't have a foundation business meeting, we always do want to provide an activity report. At least on your screen is our annual report. It is linked from our agenda. I encourage you to please take a look. It will cover our fiscal year 20. I want to focus on, at the moment, a little bit of our fiscal year 2021 items on your screen. As I'm talking, you'll see some of the great poster contest winners. We are so very appreciative of all the districts that participated. Northern Virginia's Soil and Water District had our K-1 category. Loudoun had our 2nd through 3rd grade category. Our 4th through 6th grade category came from Loudoun also. 7th through 9th grade came from Henricopolis. And our 10th through 12th grade came from Peter Francisco. I know that was a quick blurb through some of our really awesome photo contest and poster contest winners. Please take a look at them. They're posted on our Facebook page also. I will also mention we have forwarded all of them onto NACD for the national competition. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our Youth Conservation Leadership Institute program too. A big thank you to all our mentors, our sponsoring districts for this. The program provides a really meaningful experience to students to complete a service project in their backyard while taking part in programming with our education coordinator, Bonnie, and your local districts. We have record numbers of participation in the 2020-21 program, so stay tuned to learn more on that. A quick rehash about the Envirothon program. Many of you know we pivoted our program this past spring into a virtual format. We did not have an in-person competition, but we did provide students a natural resource testing week. The 2021 area, local, state competitions will all be virtual, and Bonnie is looking to have a mock Envirothon in February timeframe, so stay tuned for more information on that. We asked the districts pull together a team of 5. We need to actually practice the virtual format of what an Envirothon competition looks like, and what better way to do it with our own folks to also have a little bit of internal competition. So stay tuned for that information. And in early January, Bonnie will be getting information out too for a kickoff of our current program and release of that oral presentation problem. I'm going to keep on moving into some of our awards announcements. I ask if Kelly Snoddy can come off mute and offer a brief moment to speak to a very deserving award recipient from the Employees Association.
The Outstanding Conservation District Professional Award is presented annually by the Employees Association to recognize professionalism and dedication in the people behind our Conservation District programs. Please join me in congratulating Brandon Blevins, Senior Conservation Specialist at the Clinch Valley Soil and Water District, for this year's Outstanding District Professional Award. His primary job responsibility is as the conservation planner in the district. Examples of his dedication is that he is either the lead on projects or guiding newer conservation planners in multiple BMP projects. The district was able to allocate over $1 million worth of cost share this past year, which is double their usual amount. Brandon is also the rental equipment manager, the erosion and sediment control coordinator, the website manager, and assists in education programming. He works locally with the district at their county fairs, their local festivals. He attends all Graves Mountain trainings, all annual meetings. He's a youth conservation camp counselor and participates in the Envirothon. Brandon is an asset to his districts, and we are proud to be able to recognize him with this award.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I know Brandon will get kudos tomorrow during the Employees Association meeting, but certainly we wanted to ensure our directors heard that here also. Kelly, if you wanted to take a brief moment also, I am sharing on the screen your service awards.
Tomorrow during our employees membership meeting, we will be recognizing employees for our service awards. So at 5-year for awards, we have Brandon Blevins with Clinch Valley, Elise Corbin with Peter Francisco, Maria Harwood with Northern Virginia, Mike Horn with Tazewell, Tracy Culbertson, Peaks of Otter, Sarah Gardner with Evergreen, Siobhan Nishida, Clinch Valley, Stacy Heflin with Henricopolis, and Sheila Jaroszewski from Colonial. There are no 10-year awards this year, but our 15 years, we have Crispin Black from Loudoun, Kathy Clark from Northern Neck, myself from Peter Francisco, Lisa Cope from Daniel Boone. 20 years of service, Tim Phipps with New River. 25 years of service, Chris Barber with Skyline, Gina Waddle from Evergreen, John Kaler from Headwaters, Michelle Carter from Three Rivers, Samantha Briggs at Daniel Boone, and Sean Morris at Daniel Boone. 30 years of service, we have Etta Lucas with Tri-County City, Keith Burgess with Monacan, Wayne Turley with Holston River, and Willie Wood with Northern Virginia. At 35 years of service, we have Amanda Campbell at Lord Fairfax, Pat McElvain at Loudon, and Pat Hodges at Blue Ridge. So congratulations to all these employees. We will remind you that Employee Services Awards are offered each December at our annual meeting, and they are for paid members. So make sure you pay your membership so that we don't forget you when I do the spreadsheet.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I look forward to joining and helping with the Employees Association meeting tomorrow. On that same note, we like to recognize our Soil and Water Conservation District directors for their service. President France?
Yeah, so I'm going to run through our Soil and Water Conservation District service pins. 15 years, we have Lynn Graves from Culpeper, Henry Snodgrass from Holston River, Walter Nelson from Mountain Castles. 20 years, Robert Runkle Jr. from Culpeper, Richard E. Cray Sr. from Patrick Soil and Water Conservation District, Millard Todd Smith, Peter Francisco, Wilkie Chafin from Piedmont, and Wilkie did receive his 20-year pin prior to his passing, thanks to Ricky Rash, took it to him. A. Keith Horsley, Tidewater, Vince Garland, Northern Neck, 25 years, Larkin Moyer from Piedmont, Delta Berkey from Scott County, 30 years, Stephen Meeks from Thomas Jefferson, Janet Gill Harris from Tri-County City, 35 years, Linda Campbell from Shenandoah Valley, and 45 years, Daphne Jameson from Blue Ridge. Thank you all for your service, and we will be mailing your pins to your local district in the next coming weeks. So I'm tossing it back to Kendall.
I'm going to try to keep us moving. Thank you guys for hanging in there even a little longer than our 4:30. I think these award winners deserve the recognition. The VCAP program in a short time has become an effort of tremendous importance, and we really appreciate the work districts do to reach a new client in their community thanks to this effort. Annually, we recognize an individual leader and a community partner that has made an impact on the VCAP program. The 2020 VCAP Individual Leadership Award winner is Ms. Karen Greenway of Hanover Caroline Soil and Water. She's recognized for her installation of over 1,700 native hardwood trees on her 5.7-acre property in Caroline County, the largest tree planting VCAP has seen. We thank Ms. Greenway's impressive collaboration with Friends of the Rappahannock and DOF in the installation, connecting 2 blocks of riparian forest that will provide water quality improvement. We also annually choose a VCAP Community Partner Award. This year, the award goes to the Shoreline Erosion Advisory Service, or SEAS, as most people know it, with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. Both Mike Van Landingham and Aaron Wendt provide immeasurable support to the VCAP program and many district staff across the Commonwealth. Their expertise in the field of shoreline erosion makes them an essential component to the VCAP process for living shorelines. They provide free services to landowners while visiting sites before, during, and after installation, participate in the VCAP Technical Advisory Committee, and advocate for VCAP. Thank you to both our winners for supporting VCAP in addition to the Chesapeake Bay. We are glad to have these winners with us last Wednesday during our VCAP training also to be recognized. Thank you to each of them. Next, we want to give a moment to shout out congrats to our BMP Forestry Award winner.
So the BMP Forestry Award winner was nominated by Blue Ridge Soil and Water Conservation District is Hatcher Farm. And for those who don't know, the Forestry Award is one that is association and DOF partnering together to recognize a deserving individual or farm. Robert Hatcher of Hatcher Farms has been a property owner. His family's owned the property since 1949. His property is mainly used for hunting and growing pine and hardwood timber. Over the course of the last 2 years, he has added approximately 22 additional acres to his 42-acre farm of acres clear cut directly beside their home place. And so it says the Hatcher family has invested many years and much love into his beautiful Henry County property. We will be sending the BMP Forestry Award to Blue Ridge to recognize the Hatcher farm. Also, we're going to be posting a video to share his work on our Facebook page. Again, congratulations to Hatcher Farm.
Next, I want to give kudos to our State Conservation Education Award winners, our Elementary Teacher of the Year. We're pleased to announce Laura Henry from the Shenandoah Valley District is the recipient of our Elementary Teacher of the Year. Ms. Henry teaches kindergarten, where her class serves as the recycling club. Once a week, students collect from other classes and older students assist younger children with the task. Students maintain recycling bins around the school with her assistance, and her kindergarten students educate the student body about recycling do's and don'ts. Congratulations to Ms. Henry. A $250 check and certificate will be sent to Shenandoah Valley to help with Ms. Henry's recognition at the local level. Our secondary teacher of the year is Mr. Andrew Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt teaches welding at Buckingham County High School and was nominated by Peter Francisco Soil and Water. He has been an Envirothon coach for 5 years and has coached his team to compete at the area and state levels. Due to his involvement with Envirothon, he's become more passionate about exposing students to other environmental activities and topics. He's partnered with the district to organize an annual field trip to the Brock Environmental Center. He is also a champion of Youth Conservation Camp and has helped students not only apply, but personally driven campers to Virginia Tech for the program. He responded to us saying he was honored, humbled, and truly surprised with this honor. A $250 check and certificate will be sent to the district to help further with his recognition. Next, we'll be presenting our Wilkinson Award.
Well, cat's out of the bag since it's on the screen, but I always go back to my mentors within the association, and Jack Hodges said his only advice to me when he handed over the reins of area chair to me back many years ago was, you're going to meet some mighty good people. And Stephen Meeks is one of those mighty good people. The Earl of Albemarle, good historian, working on some things with NACD. My golf buddy, he makes me look good out on the golf course, and I really stink on the golf course. So that tells you how good Stephen is. But the thing that I admire most about Stephen is he always ducks me when I go driving through Scottsville and I try to run over him, because he's always crossing the street when I go through there. But Stephen, in all seriousness, we appreciate your service to the association. Wilkinson Award is cherished in my house, and I hope that you will cherish the award when we get it to you and yours as well. Thank you for your time, effort, and energy, and 30 years of service.
Stephen, thank you so very much. This is the highest recognition the association can give to a director for their contribution to the association, and it has been a wonderful privilege to work with you and your entire association and foundation leadership roles, and even in your new roles with NACD. Congratulations. I look forward to visiting with the award. All right. Next, I want to spend a moment on our Chafin Employee of the Year awards. It comes with a bit of a heavier heart to present these this year, as Wilkie's not with us, but I had the opportunity to visit Wilkie before he passed and share not only many great memories and a walk down memory lane, but share with him the 3 individuals that would be receiving these awards this year. And he was so very proud, as he always is, of our Soil and Water District staff. Many of you know Wilkie's significant contribution to our foundation in trying to ensure that annually we recognize 3 employees for their service. This year, the winner of our Category 1 with under 4 years of service is Tabea Zimmerman with Colonial Soil and Water District. She's in her first year with the district and has managed the VAX program, including a historic level of funding for Colonial. She provides leadership and guidance to the Ag Programs Committee and has taken a role in leading spot checks, BMP verifications, and marketing the VCAP program. She's targeted small farm operations, providing technical assistance. She serves as the Area 3 rep for the Employees Association and has taken a critically important role in leading and developing a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Congratulations, Tabea, on your exceptional work. I am so privileged and excited to be able to work with you in your role at the district, and thrilled that we can recognize you in this way. I'll be passing your $500 check and your certificate on to Wayne Davis, who nominated you, so the Colonial Soil and Water District can recognize you locally also. Doesn't have the same fanfare as a normal banquet, but I hope you definitely know the recognition is there. For our Category 2 winner, based on years of service, I am thrilled to recognize Lisa Hyatt with Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water District. Lisa was hired as an admin assistant, and the district quickly realized her ability to succeed and put her on another work track, promoting her to conservation technician last year. Lisa runs the district septic program and is lead staff on the locally funded equine grant. She creates all district outreach materials, staff newsletters, annual reports, minutes, and runs lodging and other technical reports. Her nomination form states, she has a big heart and will go out of her way to make a difference. Lisa is one of the most dedicated employees. Her nominators have worked with. Lisa serves also, as you may recall earlier in our agenda, as the marketing committee chair, and has given her time to help districts in development of outreach materials, taking lead on the development of a marketing toolkit. We will be reaching out to Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water District so we can recognize her locally with her certificate and $500 check. And last, for our category 3, with the highest number of years of service, we are excited to recognize Tim Phipps with New River Soil and Water District. Tim joined New River in 2000 and has become a resource for other district employees on matters ranging from cost share mapping to erosion and sediment control issues. He is a leader in the district, for example, implementing the CREP kit program, where the district purchases CREP supplies at bulk pricing and passes on to landowners. The district also owns an educational farm, and Tim has secured 2 grants, enabling the purchase of a tractor and working facility for cattle. Tim is a strong advocate for landowners. His nomination form states, Tim's positive attitude and exemplary work ethic have been such an asset to the district. Congratulations, Tim, and all of our winners. We will work with New River to coordinate recognition and receipt of your certificate and the $500 award. All 3 of you are so very deserving and great models of our Soil and Water District exemplary staff. Thank you for all you do. With that concludes the announcements. Please stay tuned and look on our Facebook page. We're going to be recognizing each one of these on different days in the next few week or 2, so that each of them get a little extra pomp and circumstance that is certainly necessary. With that, I'm ready to do our foundation drawing. If President France, you're ready for it?
Yes, let's go ahead and give out some prizes.
I am thrilled to announce that thanks to folks who contributed this morning, we have over $5,000 in our virtual raffle. This morning, if you joined our business meeting, we had 5 individuals choose numbers and over 1,000 tickets that were sold. Our Graves Mountain package was won by Headwaters Soil and Water District. We'll be mailing you your certificate. Also won by Headwaters Soil and Water District is our steel backpack blower that was donated by James River Equipment. We'll be working to get you your steel backpack blower and coordinating with the district. Most folks don't realize Headwater upped their chances in the raffle by making a district donation of $1,500. We have 3 other winners. Chuck Arneson from Piedmont District won our Yeti cooler that was donated by Loudon Soil and Water District. We'll connect you with Loudon, who will be in touch with you. John Peterson won our barn quilt that was donated by Blue Ridge Soil and Water District. We'll connect the 2 of you also. And Buck Tharp, whose ticket was purchased by Southside Soil and Water District, won our Hotel Roanoke package, an overnight stay and breakfast. Congratulations to all our foundation raffle winners and for your support. We will be in touch with each of you. With that,
Kendall, before you go on, this is Richard Chafin on behalf of the foundation. Just like to thank all who supported the foundation through these difficult times. We weren't able to be together. You continue to support your foundation. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the innovation that Kendall, Bonnie, and the whole office team has put into new ways to advance your foundation and serve our youth. So a big thank you to everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us throughout this agenda. We come to a time where we typically at our annual banquet have just a moment of remembrance and reflections for folks that we have lost in our soil and water conservation community, and then also immediate family members of individuals in our directorship and community. And so I'm going to go ahead, and I know that we have exceeded our time, but I still think it's really important to go through these names, and then we'll have just a brief few minutes if folks want to add names at the end. I also encourage you to stay on the line if you can for a special remembrance for Dr. Chafin after we go through this list, because he was such an influential member into our soil and water community. All right, so we'll go through. I'm going to read these names, and then we'll just take a moment. Alice Stutz, grandmother of Stacy Heflin Henricopoulos. Floyd S. Lucas, husband of Etta Lucas, Tri-County City. Floyd A. Billy Clark, father of Joanna Balderson, Northern Neck. Dorothy Gwatley, sorry, mother of director Billy from Peanut. Donald Bagshaw from James River Soil and Water Conservation District. Jay Reese Jr., son of Hudson Reese, director, Halifax. Bill Keith, partner and former NRCS district conservationist. Jack Hodges, a retired director of Blue Ridge. Sandy Fisher, Monacan, former director. Patsy McCartney Bryan, mother of Northern Neck director Billy McCartney III. Jim Myers, former director of Peter Francisco. Gil Miles, former director of Henricopolis. Ed Hale, former director and associate director of Skyline. William Billy Johnson, former director of Pittsylvania, father of Martha Moore. Fitz Thomas, son of Loudon director Michelle Thomas. Human Bennett the fourth. Stephen Smith, former director of Headwaters. Bud Lanes, first director of department. Oh, did I correct? Linus, sorry. Normally Kendall goes over these names with me ahead of time. First director of Department of Conservation and Recreation. Bobby Cogsdale, former director of Northern Neck. Jason Holden, son of Pete Holden, Loudon. Jim Nichols, director Headwaters. John Conover, former director of Thomas Jefferson. Roland Geddes, director of Division of Soil and Water Conservation. Gary George Johnson, director Big Walker. Fred Copenhaver, retired NRCS, DC and Abingdon. Robert Malcolm Baxter, father of Russ Baxter. Robert Bob Wheeler France, father-in-law of Janina France. Dr. Wilkie Chafin, director of Piedmont, past association president and foundation officer. NRCS, John Nicholson, NRCS. And if there are any others that you would like at this time, you can either speak up or put them in the chat box and I will read them for you. That if we could just a moment of silence and remembrance for these individuals. Thank you all. It's been a very difficult year. I think we've lost a lot. We've lost a lot of friends and members. Oh, we have one. Pat Willis, director from TJ, Thomas Jefferson. Thank you, Tom. It's been a really difficult year for a lot of folks and a lot of unexpected losses this year. So my heart is heavy for a lot of folks. Dr. Wilkie Chafin was very special to me, as with a lot of the executive board and other members in our community. I certainly didn't know him as long as other individuals did, but I can tell you the couple of years, more than a couple of years, few years that I've known him, he definitely left an impression on me, and I was just very disheartened to hear that he had passed. And I too had been able to actually reach out to him, and I was able to have a FaceTime with him when he got home from the hospital. And so it was really nice to speak with him and just again share memories, like Kendall said. So he really did love his conservation work. And so Kendall and the staff have put together a very nice tribute to him, and I'm going to let her take over from this point.
There are not words to discuss how impactful Wilkie is on soil and water districts and the legacy that he will leave with our districts. I have great appreciation to Deanna and Piedmont folks who helped pull together many photos for us to look at over the last week and really start to document a remarkable man in our world. He was an associate director, an elected director, treasurer and finance committee chair in Piedmont. He led many of their youth education sponsorship drives. He spearheaded the Inter Soil and Water District Road Signage Program with VDOT, including a lot at the association level. He served on Piedmont James River Tributary Strategy Steering Committee. He assisted at countless district events and numerous committees. I hope some of these photos of Wilkie will show you how impactful he really is on our work. He served as our president, our first vice president, our second vice, our treasurer, our Area 5 chair. On the foundation side was our president and our vice president. There's numerous committees and initiatives that he did, including a revamp of our bylaws. He was well known to understand our FOIA policies and our policy book, and he was our lifetime gift giver over and well above the 10,000 level of our gold level. He received our Watershed Connection Award, our Bobby Wilkinson Award, our Employees Association Partnership Award, the NACD Southeast Region Conservation Hall of Fame, and this past year, a resolution from the association for his dedication to conservation. He established the Chafin Awards for district employees, 3 of great ones we recognize today. Since 2003, we've recognized 45 employees thanks to his support. And in 2015, in memory of his wife, Dora, he established the Dora Chafin Scholarship Program that provides a scholarship to higher education to any district employee or their family member. The Dora Chafin Award is in perpetuity as it was invested into our foundation, thanks to Wilkie. We look to establish the Chafin Employee Awards in perpetuity also. I think there are too many photos to include of the good times, the good friends, and the good memories with Wilkie, and I ask that you keep him and your family and his local Soil and Water District family in your heart and prayers this holiday season. Certainly, I appreciate the extra moment to give to such a large man in our world, even if he had a small presence in the room. Certainly will be missed. And in a world where we can't be together to celebrate such an amazing life, I know that when we come together in the future for in-person meetings and during virtual sessions, just keeping Wilkie's spirit alive is exactly what he wanted of all of us. So with that, I have nothing more to say, but ask that you help carry his torch forward.
Thank you. That is just a wonderful compilation of all his achievements and some great photos. And, you know, I, for one, will always remember his voice because he loved to sing. And that was one of the things I enjoyed most about the annual meeting was sitting around a table at the end of the evening and talking and sharing some old folk tunes. So that wraps up our agenda. I greatly appreciate everybody's participation and for all those individuals who hung tight and saw us through to the end for this meeting. Again, a lot of good, constructive and robust conversation that I think puts us in a great place for furthering initiatives that we're concerned about. And thank you all. I'm really looking forward to the upcoming year. I know that there'll be still virtual meetings for some time and that we'll still have challenges to face with our current pandemic. But I think that we're set to achieve great things even in a virtual world. And so with that, unless there are any last words from folks out there in our virtual remote space or here in the office, then I will move to adjourn.
Thank you to each of you for your service and your commitment. Happy holidays. Don't hesitate to contact your association staff if you have any questions at all in the interim. Thank you and congratulations to our winners.
You guys did a great job.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Right back at you. Thank you guys for hanging on an extra 15 minutes also. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.